What's up, y'all? It is Tasha. I am back with another Married at First Sight review. Y'all, the light is at the end of the tunnel. We can't, it's the train coming down the station, and you see where you start seeing a little flicker of light, and as it comes closer, it just gets brighter and brighter. That's where we are finally with this season of Married at First Sight. We are here at episode 16, right at the cusp of Decision Day. We already know they're going to drag Decision Day out for 2 episodes. So hopefully it's no more than 2 episodes. And really, honestly, it shouldn't be 2 episodes because we only got 4 couples. Give each couple 20, 30 minutes. Get them all over with in 1 episode. We'll see what happens though, y'all. But anyway, y'all know the drill before we get into the review. Like, comment, subscribe. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and jump in. We are 5 days until Decision Day. When the episode opens, we see Lindsey and Mark. He is eating, and then she busts out a home fertility test. She says, we married. We already kind of the age where we need to get things popping. So I need to make sure everything is working down there. And I'm like, the last thing y'all need to be doing is reproducing. Can we all agree on that? Plus, Mark ain't staying with her. She says that the way he loves his cats and cares for his cats, he will do the same thing for his kids. And Mark is like, pump the brakes. I am in no rush to produce any baby sharks at this point. So Mark goes in, does his business. Y'all know what that is. And she's like, but your sperm don't look healthy. You're dehydrated. Drink some more water. It looks like you're shooting up glue that's been sitting out for days. And I'm like, here we go again with Lindsey and not having any type of filter to protect this man's masculinity. Like, she just keeps doing this. Anyway, they do the test, wait the 7 minutes, and it looks like Mark's sharks are still sharking up in here, okay? So Noi meets with her friend, and she tells her that they had a good start, but lately it's been a little bit rocky. She said she didn't understand when Steve said, she didn't do anything around the house. And I'm like, well, you couldn't really cook the noodles, and you constantly kind of said that he was supposed to do all the house stuff because you were going to work and he wasn't. So it was hard for us to see really what were you doing, girl. They talk about the job, of course, and the friend says she bets that he can get a job easily, and Noi says she thinks he can only focus. Oops, sorry, y'all. She says she thinks he can only focus on one thing at a time. Like, he did work, and then now he has a wife, and I'm just like, Steve is smart enough to be able to juggle multiple things at a time. Right now, he just don't feel like working. Point blank in the period. So she says, because she busts her ass, she wants him to do the same. Noi says Decision Day is scary, and she wonders if they have built enough of a foundation to make it lasting, although she loves him and trusts him. And Noi's voice was just really annoying between her and her friend talking in the scene. I just don't know if I can try. I just don't know. It was just annoying. Noi was annoying. Okay. Olajuwon meets with his coach. And at this moment, because we've seen this coach multiple times at this point, where is this child's family? Where is his mama? Where is an uncle, an aunt, a grandma? Somebody that is a blood relative to him that can really check him and get him in place. Is that a red flag, y'all? Because I'm just a little concerned at this point that his family really hasn't been involved like that. I mean, we at least saw Katina's mama at the wedding, and I think Katina's mama just don't want to fool around with the cameras, but let's talk about that in the comments. I don't know how I feel about that. But he says, their chemistry is real, and tells them that Katina is actually working on her associate degree, and then she wants to go to nursing school. He said he really kind of ignored the whole school issue in the beginning because he thought she was graduating soon. He then says, she's going to have to go, finish her associates, then go get her bachelor's, and then go to nursing school. And I'm like, Olajuwon, you do realize that her getting her bachelor's is nursing school? Oh gosh, he gets on my nerves thinking he knows everything. He says he dealt with an ex trying to juggle school and I guess being in a relationship with him, and obviously that left a sour taste in his mouth. So I am like the coach. It is either a simple yes or a no. You either rolling with it or you rocking with it. Figure it out, Olajuwon. So Jasmina and Michael, they are up next. Jasmina FaceTimes her friend and Michael meets with his sisters and his adorable little baby niece. Oh, I just wanted to hold that baby. So last time he got together with his sisters. It was 2 weeks before the wedding. So he brings his other sisters up to speed, since really the only sister we've seen most of the time was Claire. She tells him that actually they're both looking for the same thing, but not giving it because they keep foreshadowing instead of being in the moment. 1000% agree, Sister Claire. Jasmina says things have been going well, and when her friend asks if feelings have developed, it's basically a no. She says they aren't in the space where they need to feel 100% confident going into decision day. Michael says he didn't come into this process to find a friend, and although he wants his wife to be his best friend, that ain't the main goal of this assignment, okay? Jasmina, when asked why there is no sexual connection, basically she don't like him like that. She says Michael does all the stuff. He kisses her on the cheek. He holds her hand. She sits close to him. And I'm just like, girl, my little first grader is probably sitting close to a little boy she may think is cute. Jasmina, grow up, girl. Grow up. But, she says if he wants to make it, but she says if he wants to make it work, if he says he wants to make it work, that will make it feel better. Sorry, y'all. And I'm just like, so far, this has just not been enough progress for you. I'm just not getting it. He says he isn't sure. Michael says he isn't sure if the progress they've made thus far is enough to move forward. And his sisters tell him to take the time to figure out what Mike wants and see what really means a lot to him. Jasmine, a friend, asks if it's worth pulling out all the stops to try to make things work. And I'm just like, as if this man has not attempted to pull out all the stops. Like, he has poured his heart out to you. He has drudged up all this traumatic childhood stuff for you, girl. Like, what more do you want from him? In the words of Tyrese, like, girl. Anyway, she says she hasn't thought about that, and her friend says, well, you should try it to see if it works. And she says if she isn't feeling anything at decision day, it will be a no. And I'm like, well, it's going to be a no. Mark goes to meet with his friend, and it's so cute that his friend gives him the biggest hug and tells him he's sorry about the cat. I was like, I just absolutely love that, having some support around him. Mark says things are going, and we found out that his mom went into the hospital earlier that week because she couldn't care for herself. And then we see Lindsey talking to his mom on the phone 5 days before. And I'm like, you might not want to do that because she going to drive your mama crazy. And the one time I believe we heard her talk, moms don't care. So she, on second thought, just let Lindsey have it. Let her do it on behalf of everybody else. They then show them cleaning up his mom's house a couple days prior as well. And he says he's happy when she is there and supportive, as she was there being supportive with his mom, with the cat. And I do think she does a great job of showing up and being there. I just don't think that great job overshadows the terrible moment she has, because the terrible moments she has are absolutely horrible. So he says that he just doesn't know where to go with that because of the extreme ups and downs. His friend says that she showed up this week despite all the other weeks, and you have to look at the most recent behavior. And I'm like, friend, that is solid advice for somebody that's not married to Lindsey. Sorry. Any other person, that advice might have been perfect. But for Lindsey, no, that we can't just look at the last week, friend. We have to look at everything that has happened, because her mood shifts just that quick. We can't only look at this week. So any other person? Maybe. Lindsey? No. He says he doesn't know what it's like to be without her because they have been with each other every day, and it's not like the typical dating relationship where you kind of get that time apart. So he says he just feels like he needs that time. So now I'm feeling like Mark is going to say no and Lindsey's going to say yes. Steve is visited by his friend Priya, and she's helping him pick out another ring. And at this point, I'm like, Steve is all in. He ain't even thinking about them not making it on decision day. He's 100% bought into them staying married. He says getting her this ring will show her how he really feels, and he is really on the website designing the ring just as she has kind of discussed with him how she would like her ring to look. And I'm like, Noi, if you don't see that Steve is a winner out here picking this 1.5 carat diamond ring out just how you requested your ring to look, go ahead and mess this up just because you can't be quiet and sit at. Just let things come at their own pace, girl. See what's happening. You can always get a divorce, Noi. Like, divorce isn't what just needs to happen on decision day. You can get that at any point in time in the relationship if you feel like Steve continues to not hold up his end of the bargain. But, y'all know I said Steve was cute last week. Anyway, we then see Olajuwon and Lindsey meet up, and I'm like, well, I guess y'all two have just become besties, huh? Which I've noticed on the few after parties I've watched, they seem to be reoccurring guests that are there like every other week, and they've become quite chubby. I just wonder where the tide turned from them arguing the very, first day of the honeymoon to where they are now of being BFFs. But she says they are very similar in their approach and directness. And I'm like, yeah, both of y'all are very annoying and have no self-reflection. She says there are more pros than cons when it comes to her and Mark. But what bothers her the most is he doesn't tell her his problems first. And I'm like, he probably wants to tell other people first because maybe he just wants some advice or suggestions and he's not necessarily looking for them to fix it. He knows if he comes to tell you, you are going to jump and overwhelm him to try to actually fix the problem. Olajuwon tells her that he probably tells other people first to get feedback before he comes to her because he says that Lindsey can maybe make him feel a little bit stupid at times. And she's like, yeah, he did say this one word this one time and it was supposed to be this other word. So yeah, I did point it out. You're not the English grammar teacher, Lindsey. Just, you know what he means. Just be quiet. They then talk about Katina being in school and he has to talk about her cooking again, and Lindsey was like, but she cooks, and Olajuwon was like, she's learning how to cook. He says he knows what he wants in a wife, and he is still complaining about her working from home, and Lindsey's like, but that's working. He's like, no, she has a lot of free time. And basically he's like, is he willing to deal with her not being able to travel? Because if she can't travel, then he can't travel. And Lindsey's like, I think if you say no to Katina, you'll regret it. And I'm like, well, we won't regret it. Please put this girl out of her misery and you say no, okay? Because you ain't man enough to do nothing else. And then this is the one time I really can appreciate Lindsey because she is truly giving him good advice. But again, it's a reflection of the same person. So just like Lindsey, you don't listen, Olajuwon not gonna listen either. So all this is going in one ear and out the other, and the whole conversation is essentially pointless. It's just funny how they can just give somebody else advice when it's the same advice they need to then heed for themselves. Just find that very interesting. We then see Michael and Jasmina go to a salsa dance lesson, and they just look so cute together. Like, I wish they could really make it work. But when I saw them in this scene, especially with her having heels on and really seeing that he is shorter than her, I think the problem is the height. I think if Michael was just a few inches taller, she would be all over him. I'm just feeling that way. But they have a good time and she enjoys it, and she says that she hopes they will be more connected after this. And again, this continues to kill me with Jasmina. Like, you think, oh, we went salsa dancing, so that's going to make us feel more connected, rather than this man taking you to where he grew up, where his brother died, his mama died, him drudging up all this traumatic experience and memories. That if all this ain't making you feel connected to this man, this salsa dancing lesson ain't gonna do it either, okay? But they sit down. He says if he could do it over again, he would communicate more with her, listen, and not waste so much time being in his head, because he think he would be able to, connect with her more. He feels that she has really helped him learn a lot about himself, and really he thanks her for that, and she gets a little bit emotional. She says she may be too vocal about her feelings and he's not as vocal. She asks how he feels now, and he says he has romantic feelings for her, which we all know, and there is no question as to why they were matched. But he feels at times the feelings aren't as intense as he would like them to be. He asks her how she feels, and she says everything was good up until now. It's really been, benefiting them, what they've been going through, but she has no romantic feelings for him yet. And she is in a place where she loves how they really get along, but she just doesn't know if this is looking at a friendship or if this is actually more. And I'm like, Jasmina, we already know this is a friendship. You friend zoned this man at the honeymoon, and there was no coming back from that. So stop it, okay? And at this point, Michael just looks completely, heartbroken that she really doesn't share the same feelings that he does after all this time together. We then see Olajuwon has flowers and a cute little date set up for Katina. Again, I can't even take him seriously because of what he said last week about her. She should say no because it's what's best for her. She says the last couple of weeks have gone by the quickest, and she really can't believe it's the last dinner before decision day. She says she feels like they were on the same page, but she isn't sure because when he gets alone and he has his own thoughts, she just isn't sure what he's thinking. He asks about lingering questions, and she says she doesn't have any because she feels like they talk about everything. It's just what they think about on their own. She asks him the same, and he brings up her being in school again, because we know if Olajuwon ain't going to do nothing else, he going to be a broken record with whatever issue he is having at the moment, child. But he asks her if it's going to be challenging for her to do all those things. She says she would not have signed up to get married if she couldn't do everything. And I was like, period, Katina, period, okay? If I couldn't do it all, I wouldn't have said I could do it all. Now, pipe down, Olajuwon, and watch me work, okay? But in this moment, he really starts to become a little bit of a jerk, in my opinion. Like, you can tell his demeanor starts to change. He starts to be real nonchalant and matter of fact about his questions, because I feel like he's trying to make a point at this point. She says she has strong feelings for him, and he says why, and she says, well, we just naturally get along, and you give me this tough love, and I like it. And I'm like, that's not tough love, that's toxicity, Katina. It's being toxic a little bit, okay? And, he just loves to hear her sing his praises at any way, shape, and time that he can. So him and his receding hairline, since they have laughed every day, but there is a level of your life you won't reach until you find the right woman by your side, and he knows why the experts chose her, because she has forced him to grow, and he has gone from a boy to a man. Child, it has taken Katina and her wig in 8 weeks for him to go from a boy to a man. I guess he says whatever the decision, he won't regret it, and we know that's because he will say no. Lindsey then meets with her friend and tells her that it's been up and down. She basically blames Mark's behavior on him being an only child and that he doesn't adapt well to change, and really she thrives off of change. And I'm like, okay, sure you do. Her friend said Mark seems fun, but a bit bland, like bread. And Lindsey's like, yeah, he's kind of like an old Velcro shoe. Yeah, why does Lindsey think she can continue to say these things about Mark, and like he's not supposed to feel any kind of way about any of it? But the minute he tells her something about herself, she gets in her feelings so bad. Like, your friend just called him bread and you just called him a old Velcro sneaker? What? Oh gosh. She says it's endearing that he has an empathetic heart, but he doesn't like to really admit it, but he is truly in a time of crisis. So she isn't sure if he just truly isn't adaptable, or is it because everything that is going on with him right now. She says that when she expresses herself, he questions whether she likes him, and we're like, because there's been plenty of times where you basically acted like you don't like him. So yeah, that's not far-fetched. She says he will be her first husband for sure, but maybe not her last. 3 days until decision day. Thank goodness. All of the couples are going to play flag football. I'm over these group activities, y'all, because we know it's just going to be more of the same. So Lindsey, Jasmina, Mark, and Michael all end up on a team and the others on the other team. Mark ends up pulling something in his leg and Lindsey tries to help him. She says he is dehydrated, which of course this just confirms what she told us earlier during the sperm test, that he's dehydrated. So that basically ends the game. Everybody's glad Mark is okay. And then here comes Steve asking how everybody's doing, since it's a big week. And y'all, I didn't listen. I really don't care at this point how things are going, because nothing is going to change in a matter of 3 days. We are now 2 days until decision day. Why we couldn't move this swiftly along the whole season. Mark is trying to surprise Lindsey, and she just cannot be quiet in the car and just go along for the ride and the surprise. He goes to his mom's apartment and tells her that he needs help getting something. So he's like, come on in, because I need help, with you holding the door. But it ends up being a surprise dinner inside of his mom's apartment, since they had just cleaned it out. Lindsey says the past 8 weeks have felt like 8 years. And I'm like, if 8 weeks have felt like 8 years, if y'all stay together, you are truly going to struggle, girl. He surprises her with a sushi dinner because she loves it. And I was like, look at him eating the sushi. And just a few weeks ago, he was like, no, thank you. I don't want it. So, Lindsey, this man is trying new things and doing things to appease you, honey. Recognize the effort, okay? He thanks her for everything she has helped him with. And she says she really gets a lot of joy from building a home. And if they stay together, she only needs $500 to rent out his mom's apartment, because that's where Mark would like for them to live. He says he isn't ready to throw everything out to make it brand new. I'm okay with some paint and everything, but he points out a dresser and he's like, but I'm really not ready for that to go. And she's like, well, sucks for you, because I hate it. I can't deal with it. She's like, you say you want to live in the present, but you just keep reflecting back on the past. And I'm like, it's called having memories, Lindsey. It's called things being a little bit sentimental for you. Like, what? Who raised you, girl? So anyway, they end up disagreeing, and this should have been a really nice date night for them. But of course, something always has to come up. And then they always have to do something else to start this laughter, because that really is how they overcome tough and uncomfortable times. And I'm just not here for it. So Steve and Noi go on a dinner date. She asked Steve if someone were to ask him a year ago if he was ready for marriage. He said he would have said yes, because he's been ready for a few years now, because family is a big driving force for him. She asks how he's feeling about them not living together after decision day, and if that will regress their marriage. And he says, I don't know, because of course he don't got no crystal ball, Noi. And I'm like, I don't know how you don't think this would regress y'all. Y'all don't have enough of a foundation to then go from living together every day to then living separately for however long and then trying to have babies. Okay, Noi. She says she doesn't think it will change much. Okay, girl. And Steve says that they really don't have to have the perfect marriage, but is there enough to carry them at this point? She has to bring up the questions and worry that she still has about his work and his career, because she's like, I haven't seen that. And I mean, legit, but you've also only known him for 8 weeks. You haven't known him like for years and haven't ever seen him work. He asks if his track record and basically what his friends and family have to say about him really don't count for anything. And she says she just needs the action because she hasn't seen it. He says he was a sales engineer for 4 years and asks if she knows what it takes to get there. And she's like, of course, saying no. And I'm like, because y'all continue to skate over this issue time and time again. Every time it comes up, y'all come to no resolve around it. Oh, gosh. I just think at this point, Noi is being just a tad bit bogus, because I feel like she harps on keeping this apartment because of her independence and not wanting to let it go and not really feeling secure. But I think if Steve then had $100,000 in the bank, she would be like, where we moving to, boo? Like, I don't think she would then say she has all this nervousness about just leaving her place, where now she feels like it's such an attachment because, you know, I moved here by myself and then she was with this guy or whatever, and then she had to move out on her own and have her own space. I just don't feel like those same things would be valid if Steve told her whatever amount of money he had and that was good enough for her. I call BS on it. Sorry. The couples then prepare for their last night in the apartments together. Lindsey says she has mixed feelings, and Mark is glad that, you know, they're still here because things could have gone really bad. She tells him that she loves the cat Rocky more than she loves him, and that's because it's a damn cat, Lindsey. Don't talk back to you, okay? Mark says he is nervous because they really haven't had a positive week in the full 8 weeks, and he doesn't think he can go through arguing every week. If you stay with her, Mark, that's what you're going to get. So be there or be square. Noi, Steve, and Sushi are all in bed for their last night. Sushi's an ugly little dog, y'all. I'm sorry. I just looked at him real good this episode, and I was like, he just ain't cute. Steve said there are some mixed feelings as well, and he thinks he has held back. He thinks that she has held back some of her feelings, and I can see his point there. I think she's held back feelings that she has to him, but she has not held back what she feels when she talks to other people. So there's that. She asked what he would change, and he said, well, if I could change anything, I would probably just go ahead and get a job and eat the pasta. And I'm like, you see how crazy that kind of sound, Noi? Okay, girl. He says he would really want more understanding from her, and he should feel as comfortable asking her for things as she does him. And she says she isn't perfect, and if they choose to stay together and he still has to work through these issues, it's going to be hard for her. And I'm like, you mean to work through these two very reasonable requests? That's the problem, Noi? And that's why you don't deserve Steve, because you... girl. So anyway, the couple start to pack because we all know one of them has to leave the shared apartment for the last night. Katina says she didn't think about a decision date aspect when they got married, and now I'm like, oh my God, it's here. She asks if he is nervous about being alone in his thoughts, and he says no because he needs to take in everything that they've been through. He asks how she would feel if she were single the next day, and she says that she would be sad. He says he will be sad, but this is a chance they know they would take. But, you know, I'll overcome it one day and I'll be all right. Of course you would, Olajuwon. He then says, because you a female, you know. And Katina's like, no, I don't know. And I'm the same. No, I don't know either. What are you trying to say? Because she's female, she's going to have more feelings, as if you shouldn't have feelings because you a man? So then the producer asks her in the confessional how she feels about possibly getting divorced, and she says it's sad and it's a really draining feeling. He tells her not to make a decision because of other people, and the decision is really deeper than that. And he wants her to be selfish because he is going to be selfish. Olajuwon, what's new at this point? You've been selfish the entire 8 weeks, so we know your behavior is going to be no different on decision day. Okay, so Jasmina packs up, and Michael says, decision day came so soon, they just kind of got into a good place, and then here they are having to figure out what they're going to do. He says he will really try to get some rest, so he is clear-headed going into decision day. but also reflecting, and she says she's going to do the same. And we already know what Jasmina's decision is. It's going to be a no for her dog. She then keeps saying she doesn't know if the spark will come and if she only sees him as a friend. Jasmina, it's been 8 weeks. If the spark is not there yet, honey, the spark ain't coming in the next 12 to 24 hours for you to make a decision. And if you don't feel something at this point, the chances of you feeling something, especially when you don't really put in an effort for a spark to develop, slim to none. Slim to none. Mike says he's very nervous about going into decision day as well because this is the biggest decision of his life. He says she left early in the marriage. You know, that time she left to go back to her house and then she came back. And he said that point was easier for him because he knew she would come back. But now with decision day looming, it's a little bit harder because this could possibly be the very last night. So we then see all the individual partners leaving. So Olajuwon leaves, Lindsey leaves, Jasmina leaves, and then Noi leaves. And I've never been so excited for decision day to be so close, y'all. Thank you, baby Jesus. We are almost there. And where they could have gone ahead and tried to wrap this up next week and then the following week being a reunion. Next week, they're coming with an episode of basically older couples or people that have been on the show before that divorced their spouse are now coming on to give their thoughts about the couples this season, as if we need another intermission in this very long season that we have already had. So I may watch the episode next week. I'm not feeling strong about reviewing it, but I'll see if it's giving what it's supposed to have gave, and if it does, we'll see each other next week. But if not, we will catch each other on decision day, y'all. Yes. Yes. And after decision day, Married at First Sight, give us like at least a smooth 4 or 5 months before the next season, because we just need to decompress and relax, relate, release, because it's just been a whole lot the last 3 seasons. It's been a whole lot, and we just want to rest a little bit, okay? All right, let's chat it up in the comments below. I'll talk to y'all next time. Peace.